So continuing on from the last video where we worked out where these lines came from. So these are our 10% lines. They show where 10% of the raw range is. And so in this case, we've only really got one place where our residual value is more than 10% of the raw range. And so at a very basic level, if we've got a place or more than one place where we've got a residual value of more than 10% of the raw range, then we would potentially claim that the model may not be the greatest fit. And if you're going above achieved, we're going to need to think a bit more deeply than making a statement like that based on a single residual or a couple of residual values. And so if we are going for those higher grades, we need to be considering the bigger picture, the whole of this residual plot. And so we can have a look along it from left to right. We could have a bit of a discussion right along this residual graph discussing the fit of the model for different time periods. And if we look at this residual plot, you might notice there are some places where the residuals, we're not having a lot of spikes. And so that's suggesting that the data is fitting fairly well. In particular, one place we might notice down the end of the data, starting early 2010 and going up to the end of our data beginning in 2012, we don't have much going on in terms of residual spikes. Our residual values are all pretty small. And so for this part of the data anyway, the model seems to be a pretty good fit. Between kind of 2008 and 2010, we have a little bit more spikes happening. And so the data may not be as good a fit in this period. And I mean, this whole period could be discussed, couldn't it? We could, if you look into it, you're probably going to find a bit about the recession, because although this big spike here is related to the recession that happened had a bit of an ongoing effect. And so it's not just one time period that recession has potentially affected. And so this whole section where we have more spikes, where the residual values are larger, could be related to that. And so when we're discussing individual residual values where we do have those spikes, you don't have to limit yourself to just ones that are above 10%. You can talk about others that are close to 10% as well. There's one here which is not too far off 10% of the raw range. This one there, we can talk about these other ones as well. There's another one here. Now, in terms of other sections, we've got another section here where it's looking to be a pretty good fit, and another section here where we've got a little bit more happening in terms of spikes. And so we can discuss the fact that this model seems to be a better fit in some places than others. And overall, we're probably going to want to decide, well, how good do we think this model is going to be for any future predictions as well? And in looking at this graph in particular, our residual values are pretty small in the most up-to-date data that we have. Obviously, this is well in the past now, but if we were sitting here in February 2012 thinking about, well, what's going to happen in the future if we were to extend the model, extend the green line, and make predictions, because our model has been a fairly good fit in the last couple of years, that might give us a bit more confidence to think, well, any predictions that we make based on our model will probably be okay. If we had some really big residual spikes here in the more recent times, then we might have a bit less confidence in any future predictions. And so, yeah, if we had some big residual spikes at the beginning, and then the residuals were fairly flat or very small spikes the rest of the graph, we're probably going to be pretty confident in any future predictions. So you want to be thinking about the whole graph.